What's up guys, I'm Nuo, and today I'm going to be going over all the new and reissued weapons in Season of the Lost, and then I'm going to be going over all of the god rolls for PVE. Let's get into it. First up, we're going to go over the new Season of the Lost and Season Pass weapons. Up first is the Fractithus Stasis Kinetic Shotgun. It is a precision frame but not a slug, so I don't recommend it for PVE. But if you wanted to use it for PVE, I would recommend any sort of range boosting, handling boosting, reload boosting perks with Assault Mag, Lead from Gold, and Trench Barrel. Next on our list, we have the Chrysura Mellow, which is a 360 RPM high-impact solar auto rifle. Now, this archetype isn't great, but because of the limited options for anti-barrier, you might see this auto rifle being used. And like I said, it's going to be used for anti-barrier, so I'd recommend something like 4 times the Charm Frenzy with appended mag and then as much range as possible, either full bore, hammer forged rifling, or maybe even extended barrel. Third on our list is the Vulpicula, which is a stasis 180 RPM hand cannon in the kinetic slot. Now, this weapon can roll some interesting new perks in Headstone, which is going to be really interesting if you're running a stasis build. Explosive payload wouldn't be too bad. And then in the first column, I would recommend Outlaw or maybe even Shoot to Loot. And Tactical Mag or Appended Mag are your best options for mag, and then as much range and reload as you can in your barrel and your masterwork. The fourth weapon on our list from the seasonal activities is the Wolf Tone Draw, which is an arc precision bow. Now, Point of the Stag is probably going to be the go-to bow for Overload, but this bow is also very good if you don't have Point of the Stag, is it can roll with Archer's Tempo for max draw speed, as well as Frenzy for max reload speed and a 15% damage increase. And then you're going to want to pair that with the Elastic String to have the quickest draw time, and then it doesn't really matter for your arrow shaft, but I would recommend going for as much accuracy and reload as possible. The fifth weapon on our list is a solar fusion rifle, the Iota Draconis, which is a high impact frame, and with the recent fusion rifle changes, I don't recommend this fusion rifle at all for PvE. The sixth and final weapon on our list is the Canis Major, a 150 RPM heavy solar grenade launcher. Now, this weapon has some interesting perk combinations. I recommend getting Vorpal Weapon for increased damage against bosses, and also Field Prep for more reserves and quickest reloads, and then pairing that with Spike Grenades for boss damage. Well, you could also get a roll with Chain Reaction and Clown Cartridge or any of the other perks if you were interested in making an ad clear weapon. Next up, we're going to go over the new reprised Trials of the Nine weapons added to the Prophecy loot pool. The first reprised Trials of the Nine weapon is the Last Breath, a 600 RPM kinetic auto rifle. And for perks, I recommend either Demolitionist or Subsistence in the first column. And then if you want to go with a Demolitionist Osmosis build, that works. Or you can go with Frenzy or One for All in the second column. For your magazine, Appended Mag as always, along with as much range and reload speed as possible in your barrel and masterwork. The second reprised Trials weapon is the Judgment, a very popular 140 RPM adaptive frame hand cannon in the kinetic slot. And this one is only the third hand cannon that can roll time payload that is not sunset behind True Prophecy and the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver. So this is going to be a very interesting weapon if you can get that. The only perk in the first column I would recommend is Demolitionist, but you could also go with a multi-kill clip or an Osmosis build in the second column. For mag, as always, recommend Appended Mag or a Tactical Mag here, and for your sights, choose whatever is best. I recommend speccing into range and reload or stability if you're on console. The third reprised Trials of the Nine weapon is the Darkest Before, a 540 RPM rapid-fire arc pulse rifle. Now, these are not going to be great in high-level content like Grandmaster Nightfalls. However, One for All is an excellent perk there, as well as Subsistence and Overflow could have some uses, and Rampage too. So my god roll would probably be Overflow and One for All if I was using it for GMs, and Subsistence Rampage if I was using it in casual play. I would recommend Appended Mag and as much range and stability as possible in the other columns. Arrowhead Break would be my top choice barrel. The fourth reprised Trials weapon is an Arc Energy Shotgun, and it is an aggressive frame, so not the best archetype for PvE. However, this can roll the awesome combo of Grave Robber 1-2 Punch, so I would recommend getting that roll, along with Assault Mag, and then as much handling as possible, so you can switch between weapons quicker. Sudden Death is the 4th Reprised Trials of the 9 weapon. It is an aggressive frame arc shotgun, so not the best for PvE. However, it does roll with Grave Robber and 1-2 Punch, which is a fantastic combo, along with Assault Mag to allow you to fire faster, and a Handling Masterwork, and as much handling as you can get in the barrel, to make sure after your melees you can pull the shotgun out as quick as you want. The 5th Reprised Trials of the 9 weapon is a Swift Verdict, a Void Precision Frame Sidearm, and if I had to pick perks, I'm not a big fan of these sidearms. I would either go with Full Auto, Surplus, or Threat Detector, along with Kill Clip or even Surrounded. But I don't think sidearms have a great place in the endgame for PvE at the moment, so I would not recommend farming for this one. Finally, the 6th Reprised weapon is a Solar Aggressive Frame Sniper Rifle, the Long Walk, and this weapon has fantastic perks for endgame PvE. Both Overflow and Clown Cartridge will be exceptional at taking down champions, along with Firing Line for a 20% damage increase. This perk is going to be wonderful inside of GMs, so if you can get your hands on an Overflow or Clown Cartridge Firing Line roll, with an appended mag, or even extended mag to get that magazine size up to 4, and then throw on either Fluted Barrel or any sort of range or handling boosting perk, you'll be in a solid spot. So my recommended god roll would be Fluted Barrel, Handling Masterwork, Appended Mag, Clown Cartridge, and Firing Line. But Overflow would also be a good perk. Of all the Trials of the 9 weapons that have been brought back, this weapon right here is the one I'm going to be farming for the most for high-end endgame PvE content. Next, we're going to go over the new weapons added to the playlist activities. Up first for our new playlist weapons, we have the Sorrow's Verse, which is a 600 RPM auto rifle from the Crucible. There are only 2 600 RPM unset auto rifles in the game, so this one might be interesting to get your hands on. The other one being Arc Logic. This auto rifle has 144 different perk combinations in just these 2 columns alone, but Surplus, 4 times the Charm, Feeding Frenzy, Subsistence, and maybe Outlaw would all work well, along with Frenzy, One for All, Thresh, Demo, and Rampage. I would avoid multi-kill clip on an auto rifle simply because auto rifles have too much in the mag, and you're not reloading them often enough. My ultimate god roll would probably be Subsistence and Rampage for content like dungeons and stuff like that. If I was going to take it into GMs, I would probably go with Frenzy or One for All, along with either 4th times the Charm or Surplus. I'm also looking forward to the new Scout Rifle added to Gambit, which is a 260 RPM rapid fire Scout Rifle. That rolls in the kinetic slot, and it's got a boatload of perks. My god roll would be Rapid Hit and Kill Clip, but you're not probably going to get that roll on your first go, because there are 144 combinations. So, 4th times the Charm, Surplus, Outlaw even, Subsistence, those are all pretty good perks. Frenzy is a very good perk for GMs. Multi-kill clip, because it shoots so fast, would be pretty good, as well as One for All for that 35% damage bonus. Osmosis, if you wanted to use a grenade build. And finally, Thresh and Rampage. There's so many good combinations. I'm really looking forward to using this. But like I said, Rapid Hit, Kill Clip, the Randy's Throwing Knife combination would be my god roll, along with Tactical Mag or Appended Mag, probably Tactical Mag for the reload, and then as much range as possible, either Hammer Forged and Full Bore with either a range or reload masterwork. From the Vanguard, we got a Soros Rapid Fire Sidearm, which is okay, I guess, in PvE. You're not going to want to use this in endgame content, but you might find it useful in basic stuff. So, stuff like Subsistence, Feeding Frenzy, then Surrounded, Swashbuckler, Kill Clip, any sort of reload and damage perk is probably going to be your best bet here for PvE. And then magazine of choice probably would be Appended Mag or Flared Magwell for me. But any of them will really work. Now, we're going to go over the new Nightfall Weapons. The first of the Nightfall Weapons, the Comedian, is really not that great. It rolls with Assault Mag, which will help increase your rate of fire, Vorpal Weapon for the damage against bosses, and then probably Lead from Gold to keep your ammo up. You could also use something like Trench Barrel, but overall this is not a very good weapon. I really wouldn't bother farming for it. The second of the Vanguard weapons is the Arc Rocket Launcher, the Hothead, and unfortunately it suffers from the fact that it's an adaptive frame. For whatever reason, this rocket launcher has one less in reserve than any other rocket, but it's alright because it has a very, very good perk pool. It has Field Prep, Tracking Module, and Demo in the first column, along with Clown Cartridge, Vorpal Weapon, and Explosive Light in the second column. Obviously, you're going to want to use Impact Casing, and then your choice of barrel for the most handling and reload speed, or velocity if necessary. But my official god roll would be Impact Casing with Field Prep and Explosive Light, simply because the Field Prep will help with the reserves. Next up, we've got the 2 new Iron Banner weapons, as well as the new Trials of Osiris weapon. We got a Stasis Kinetic Sidearm of the Adaptive Frame family, and this fires a nice 3-round burst. So this is going to be a very, very nice feeling sidearm in PvE. Maybe not as nice as the Amalon sidearms we currently have, but it doesn't have the best of perks, so I would recommend Subsistence with either Demo, Swashbuckler, or Surrounded, depending on your situation, with Appended or Tactical Mag, and as much reload and range as possible in the barrel and the masterwork. The Forge's Pledge is a legendary solar pulse rifle in the adaptive frame category. Unfortunately, its perk pool doesn't really complement where pulses shine in PvE right now, which is underleveled content. With them being used for Unstop this season, there's nothing that really complements it very well, but I'll go with something either Surplus, Autoloading Holster, and Rampage as my go-to, with Tactical Mag, Appended Mag, and as much range and reload in the barrel and masterwork as possible. The new Trials weapon this season is the Reed's Regret, a heavy stasis linear fusion rifle, and it's got a fantastic loot pool. I would recommend Triple Tap and Firing Line for raids, or Clown Cartridge if you wanted to go that route, and then Vorpal Weapon for solo content. Firing Line will be 20%, and Vorpal Weapon will be 15%. For the battery, I would recommend Accelerated Coils for DPS, and Liquid Coils for total damage output. And for your barrel, as much range or handling as possible, probably with a reload masterwork. This is a fantastic linear fusion rifle, probably the best linear fusion rifle in the game right now. Next, we're going to go over all of the new legendary weapons in the world loot pool. The first of the world weapons is the Scathe Lock, which is a very popular 600 RPM auto rifle, and it can roll the classic Subsistence Rampage that everyone wants on those 600 RPMs. So that's the roll I'm going to recommend. I really don't recommend anything else besides maybe Osmosis if you're using something like Verity's Brow or Precious Scars with their new reworks. Appended Mag, and then as much range and stability and reload as you can in the barrels. Legal Action 2 is going to be a pretty solid, unstoppable option as a kinetic high-impact pulse rifle this season. It's competing with the Cold Denial and the Messenger from Trials. However, it has a slightly better perk pool where you can roll Frenzy and Surplus, or Thresh or Rampage, and even Osmosis if you're using a grenade-based build. So this is going to be pretty good at stunning unstoppables in PvE. We'd use something like Appended Mag, like I say all the time, with as much range and reload as you can spec into. Or Arrowhead Break if you're having trouble controlling the recoil. Spoiler alert is a Vanguard-themed weapon that is now in the World Loot Pool. It doesn't have the best of perks, but Feeding Frenzy and Threat Detector are pretty solid on a sidearm. Compare that with Swashbuckler, Frenzy, Unrelenting, Osmosis, Demo. Really, lots of different options in this. I wouldn't say there's necessarily a god roll because it's not really a very good archetype of a sidearm. So, feel free to try them out if you get some in the World Loot Pool. Shepherd's Watch is another weapon reprised and added to the World Loot Pool. It's a kinetic adaptive frame sniper, so it'll be competing with the Tranquility. Lead from Gold and Firing Line is probably the god roll if you can get that for PvE, along with Appended Mag if you're using a boss, if you're using a backup mag, and Tactical Mag if you're using a boss spec. As much handling in range as you can get would also be good. And like I said, this gun is basically the same thing as Tranquility at this point. So if you can get Lead from Gold Firing Line, that's the best roll. But if you prefer auto-loading holster, I would go with the Tranquility. The Annual Skate is a solar 140 RPM hand cannon in the energy slot. It's got time payload, again, one of the very rare perks. So if you're getting time payload, I would go with Surplus. If you're not using time payload and you're using Dragonfly, I would go with Outlaw, because those perks synergize very well together. But you could also go with Swashbuckler Outlaw or multi-kill clip Outlaw if you're doing even lower level activities. But if Overload Hand Cannon ever comes back, Surplus and Timed Payload will be fantastic on this hand cannon. I'm going to be making sure to keep one of these in my vault. Contingency Plan is an Arc Vice Rapid Fire Frame Scout Rifle from Dead Orbit that has been added to the World Loot Pool as well. And I'm going to go with One for All, Kill Clip, or Frenzy in the second column, along with Surplus or Subsistence, depending on which activity I'm doing. If I'm doing GMs, I'll probably go with Surplus. And if I'm just playing around, I'll probably go with Subsistence. This is a very similar gun in terms of rolls to the Gambit Scout Rifle. But this one is obviously going to be Arc, and there aren't a lot of great Arc Scout Rifles in the game, so this one might be great this season. Unfortunately, there are no Scout champion mods, but it still might be pretty good. Next up, I'm going to go over the weapons that have had perks added to them from Trials, the Moon, and the Dreaming City, where these perks are somewhat relevant. If I skip over a weapon, it's because its updated perks were not very relevant. If you plan on using pulse rifles for Unstop this season, the Messenger just received a new perk that's good in Frenzy. The other two perks, Elemental Capacitor, Heating Up, and Encore, not that great, but Frenzy, you can add with Rapid Hit and Frenzy with Appended Mag, and it's a pretty good roll. If you're interested in the Messenger's new perks, it got only one good new perk in Frenzy, so if you're interested in that perk, you can pair it with Rapid Hit, Appended Mag, and a bunch of range, maybe Arrowhead Break. It'll be a good unstoppable weapon this season. One Small Step also got its 1-2 punch back, so if you're looking for a 1-2 punch shotgun, it got 1-2 punch and auto-loading holster back, so if you want to use those, you could as well. Tranquility also received similar treatment, where it received auto-loading holster and firing back again. So that would make the new god roll for Tranquility, auto-loading holster, firing line, Appended Mag, or Tactical Mag, depending on what you plan on using. If you plan on using a boss spec, Tactical Mag is better. If you plan on using a backup mag, Appended Mag will get you to 7 shots. So, and then for your barrel, as much handling and as range as possible. And this will be a pretty good sniper for taking out champs. Alternatively, you could also use Lead from Gold instead of auto-loading holster. Arc Logic received Overflow Demolitionist and Rampage back, which makes this gun fantastic again. You could pair Subsistence and Rampage, Overflow Rampage, Subsistence Demo. Fantastic perk combinations, and they made this gun viable again. It's probably a little bit easier to farm than the new Crucible Auto Rifle. And they have very similar perk rolls, so choose one of them, farm for one of them. The Ignis Hammer received a pretty good new PvE perk in Overflow, but 120s have kind of fallen out of the meta, and especially with no artifact mods for hand cannons for the next 6 months, I wouldn't really worry too much about getting a god roll of the Ignis Hammer. The Every Waking Moment, the Moon SMG, received Kill Clip and Subsistence back. Subsistence doesn't pair nicely with any really of the damage perks, but Kill Clip is a great perk for endgame PvE, like raids, because you can almost always have it procced. If you don't want to opt for multi-kill clip, it's really just a personal preference which one you think you're using more. If you're reloading often, kill clip. If you're using the whole mag, multi-kill clip. Love and Death, the 150 RPM rapid-fire grenade launcher, got back full court and field prep, making it again one of the top-tier grenade launchers in the game. Unfortunately, the new grenade launcher we have this season also can roll the same roll of field prep, but instead of full court, it can roll Vorpal. So, it's situational. If you're standing really far back, full court might come into play more, but otherwise, I would go for the field prep Vorpal grenade launcher. But this is going to be the god roll along with spike nades and hard launch. A fine memorial, the Arc machine gun from the Moon received Demolitionist back as one of its perks. So if you're looking for a machine gun to help you with a grenade-based build, this might be the play, but I don't think this is going to make too much of a difference in this. This weapon was already okay post reissuing. Abide the Return received the Whirlwind Blade and Relentless Strikes back. So pairing that with Jagged Blade and Swordmaster's Guard is your highest DPS of a legendary sword. So that's not, Falling Guillotine. So if you want to use that, you can. Night Terror received pretty much the same treatment as Abide the Return, and it got Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade back. So if you're interested in that at all, you can go with that. Thank you guys so much for watching and making it to the end of this video. I've actually been contemplating creating a guide for these god rolls within the DIM system, so I've been planning on making a wish list. So if you check the description of this video, there may be a wish list with directions on how to set it up and import it into Dim, so you can actually see my god rolls put into your Dim yourself. If it's not there, I just haven't gotten around to it. It takes a lot of work, but that's what I plan on doing. So make sure to check out the description to see if that's there, and that way you can check your weapons and compare them to my god rolls without even having to watch through the whole video every time you want to see them. That's about it for now. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this whole thing, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.